When you think of Halloween, it's almost impossible not to imagine the witch. Picture a cackling old woman in black with pointed hat, riding a broomstick under the harvest moon at the dead of night. But this is not the full story. The Halloween witch is much more than simply a fairy tale character stirring a cauldron in a secluded grotto. Welcome, again, to another episode of Mysteries from a Forgotten World. Today we shall explore the origin of the Halloween witch and ask, where did this image come from? Long before the witch became an icon of Halloween, she was revered as something very different. In pre-Christian Europe, wise women served as healers and midwives, and played a vital role in their communities. They had extensive herbal knowledge which they used to heal wounds, ease childbirth, and relieve pain. Very often these women were keepers of ancient pagan traditions that celebrated the seasonal cycles of nature. With the spread of Christianity throughout Europe, the old pagan gods, along with their earthly followers, were viewed in sinister light. The Church sought to condemn such beliefs as devil worship and sinful. Such condemnation ultimately led to the evolution of the witch from respected wise woman to dreaded follower of Satan. Between the 15th and 18th centuries, Europe and later the American colonies experienced a feverish outbreak of witch hysteria. Persecutions began in Germany, Scotland, and France, and continued across the Atlantic with the infamous Salem witch trials taking place in the early 1690s. Those identified as witches were often accused of making pacts with the devil, cursing crops, or flying on broomsticks to attend satanic gatherings in groups or covens. Witch hunts were not just the result of religious fervor alone. Very often, accusations arose from local tensions, disputes, or the need to scapegoat during times of inexplicable hardships. Disease and crop failure were frequently seen as the result of witchcraft, rather than the unpredictable nature of the environment. Over time, the witch became the embodiment of fear and evil, and represented a malignant threat to the community. Here we see the emergence of the wicked witch as a well-defined character in European folklore, ultimately being derived from witch hunt hysteria. But as we reach the late 17th century, the European mindset began to change. The dawning of the Age of Reason saw the witch trials begin to fade. In Europe and colonial America, the decline was driven by growing skepticism towards witchcraft and supernatural events. Interest in new scientific ideas and discoveries began to challenge the old religious beliefs and attitudes on how nature could be explained. In the meantime, a number of social and cultural changes took place that saw witch trials practically fade by the early 18th century. Scientific reasoning, fairer laws, and religious moderation helped to replace superstitious belief, and cleared the way for the European Enlightenment. As the hunts finally drew to an end, the archetypal witch continued to live in folklore. Fairy tales from across Europe became popular, and often featured the wicked witch in various fictional situations. German folklore captured the iconic image of the wicked witch in the story of Hansel and Gretel, as told in Grimm's fairy tales, published in 1812. The witch was often depicted lurking in the forest or deep within the woods, sometimes inhabiting a hidden or secluded hut. They were portrayed as spiteful and otherworldly, often waiting for unsuspecting victims who passed unknowingly through the forest. Nonetheless, against this enduring background of fairy tale witches, the connection with old pagan beliefs continued to influence the cultural outlook. Traditionally, the ancient Celtic festival that marked the end of the harvest season and the beginning of winter was called Samhain. This festival represented a period where the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. Celebrated around October 31st, pagan followers would attempt to contact the realm of the ancestors in order to commune with the dead and other long-departed spirits of the netherworld. With the rise of Christianity, this pagan festival was finally replaced. The Church added a new festival called All Hallows' Eve with reference to the night before All Saints' Day, which is a celebration of all Christian saints, and is a day for pious reflection. However, the thinning of the veil between the living and the dead is still an uppermost thought, with ghosts and spirits still forming a common Halloween theme throughout the celebrations. By the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Halloween changed from a somber night of pious reflection into a festive community event enjoyed by children and adults alike. Folklore and pagan belief had merged to produce the iconic figure of the modern Halloween witch. Part fantasy, part fairy tale, the old wise woman is depicted as a crone with crooked nose, haggard features, and warty face. At her side the black cat and bubbling cauldron, and under the harvest moon she rides her broomstick late into the night. Samhain, the old pagan Night of the Dead, continues to surround the witch with ghosts and spirits, where the undead once again return to the living. Lighting the way are grinning jack-o'-lanterns in porches and windows, casting a supernatural glow in the foggy October air. Today, the witch is no longer seen as a figure of terror or fear. Superstitious prejudice against the wise woman is now largely a thing of the past. Today, the Halloween witch is seen as a symbol of fun to be enjoyed and celebrated by all the family and community alike. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this episode of Mysteries from a Forgotten World, be sure to add your comments below.